Morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Standards Learning and Accountability Committee meeting. It is 10:14, and I would like to call this meeting to order. It's my observation that we do have a quorum, and we would like to thank Dr. Crystal Stapleton for joining our committee this morning. Welcome to those of you who are in attendance. Thank you for your interest in the work of the State Department of Education. Are there any objections to approving the agenda as presented? Hearing none, the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. We do not have anyone signed up for public comment today. We appreciate you all who are here, being here. For approval, we will begin with the only item that we have, which is item 01, the South Carolina College Career Ready English Language Arts Standards, the first reading. It will be presented by Dr. David Mathis, Deputy Superintendent in the Division of College and Career Readiness.
Thank you, Ms. Frierson and board members. So we really are excited to be here today to present the the revised ELA, English Language Arts standards. While I think all standards are important, we can agree with that, but I think we all know the importance of the English Language Arts standards as they permeate all of our subject areas. It's important that our students learn to read, write, and communicate, but they need to do that early in their career and become proficient at it. There are certain points in our work that we accomplish, and this is one of those because it will define for the next 7 years how we teach English language arts. And as you've heard us say before, if we want to raise and increase student achievement, you got to teach to the depth of these standards, and that's what you're going to hear about today. This was led by Dr. Christina Melton's office. Dr. Melton is here. She's the director of the Office of Assessment and Standards. We were fortunate to have Dr. Abby Duggins, who was in a district at the time, help facilitate this and shepherd this work. She did such a good job with it that we've brought her on now as the Director of Early Learning and Literacy, and Abby is here. As well as you see these great-looking folks here, they are members of that were very important from the Office of Assessment and Standards as we developed this work. You're going to hear a presentation today from a team lead in that office, Casey Cook, who will present the ELA standards to you. Just keep in mind the progression of the standards. As Ms. Frierson said, this is first reading. There will be a second reading. Keep in mind also standards that are assessed on our summative state test also have to have 2 readings at the Education Oversight Committee. So this is the first of the approval process and will end once you have and the EOC, Education Oversight Committee, have had their second readings on this as well. The question we always get from educators or from teachers is, well, you've adopted these, when will they be implemented? So these standards will be implemented in the year 24-25. And so that gives us a year to do professional learning and training with teachers. Just putting into perspective, the social studies standards were fully assessed this year with the U.S. History end of course exam. 23-24 next year, you're going to implement fully and assess science, followed by 24-25 ELA, and then what you'll get later on your agenda will be later this year are the math standards that would be implemented the year after ELA. So keep in mind over the next few years what teachers will be going through and learning new standards and implementing new standards. So this is very important work, and so we're glad to present these to you. So Casey?
Thank you, Dr. Mathis, for that introduction. I'm honored to be the spokesperson for this process. I'd also like to acknowledge some of my associates behind me who have been integral to this work. Thank you. Clicker. There we go. Oops. We'll start with the standards development timeline. It's been quite a process, but we're excited that we have come to the end of that process, and we think we have a strong product. And it began in 2020 with a review committee. Standards were reviewed also by the Education Oversight Committee nationally and in the field. There was a first draft produced in 2021. That draft moved through the internal review system that we have, agency routing tool. Second draft was produced in 2022. We submitted that draft for field review and made revisions in the early fall of this year. Submitted that document for internal review in ART in October, and here we are today for the first read, and we're excited about that. As part of the acknowledgments in our standards document, we thought that it would be helpful for the field to see the demographics of those who participated in the committee. This looks small on the screen as you see it now, so we have a few zoomed in slides, but we wanted you to see what that page looks like that will appear in the final product. Here you see the demographics of the writing committee. On the left-hand side, you see the level of educators, kindergarten through second grade, third through fifth grade, middle level, and high school teachers indicated by the color. On the left and on the right-hand side, you see teachers who represent and brought voices from gifted and talented, AP, IB, special education, and English language learners. We also were intentional to look for years of experience when selecting the committee. So here indicated are the percentages of those with years of experience. You see 6 through 10 years, 26 through 30 years, 22% of our team had 26 to 30 years of experience. So we have a broad range of experience represented in the committee as well. This image is those who participated on the committee and which districts they represented. So our process included intentionality behind selecting, looking for a broad representation of participants from around the state. This image represents the district size. So we also considered district size when selecting the committee. On the left-hand side, you'll see the state demographics and the committee demographics. And we were proud to say that those two demographic images mirrored each other. On the right-hand side, you can see the percentages of literacy and reading coaches that were represented in the committee, as well as district staff personnel and classroom teachers. We're particularly proud that we can say that the EOC recommendations was a common thread throughout each committee meeting and throughout the writing process. This slide indicates all of the things that the EOC recommended, and we use those recommendations to inform our work. These are some examples. You see in the top left-hand side, we reduced the number of strands as requested from 6 to 4. As requested, we reduced the number of standards from 41 to 20. We added fundamentals of reading which is titled Foundations of Literacy in the document. As recommended, inquiry is now research. We combined reading, literary, and informational. That is now called applications of reading. Precise articulation and progressive complexity in the learning statements was also a driving force behind our work, and we feel like we've accomplished that. We created appendices, and we have currently 16 support documents already in creation as we are already preparing to support the field. One of the things that we asked for in field review is not only to score the document, but we asked for information as to how we can plan to support the field. And we use that information to start to prepare those documents. So we have 16 now already under construction. We are preparing for professional development. That may be webinars, courses, in-person professional development specific to districts, as well as regional professional development opportunities. Another thing that we're particularly proud of is the obvious measurability in the language of the indicators. That was also a request. The language is clear, it's intentional, it's concise, and it's progressive and developmentally appropriate as far as cognitive complexity at each level. As requested, we've included a text complexity component with information around text complexity as well as a rubric. We also have a resource and support document that will complement the text complexity piece that is in our current draft. We also minimized repetition and verbs that repeated themselves or overlapped to avoid confusion, and we have bolded new skills as those are introduced in a vertical articulation of standards and indicators. We have a vertical articulation already present in the back of the current draft that we're also particularly proud of. That was a request from the field as well. It allows teachers to plan and prepare for intervention and to look at a glance to see what students would have done previously and where they're going when they leave that particular grade level. And we have eliminated those repetitive words, enhanced clarity, conciseness, and readability. Our field review and revision process looks very similar to the Fordham Institute's process. We actually reached out to the Fordham Institute and asked if we could borrow components of their rubric as we designed our field review survey. When the field engaged with our document, they gave our document similarly to the Fordham Institute, 7 points for content and rigor, 3 points for clarity and specificity, for a total score of 10. The survey was offered in 3 independent sections because we are sensitive to the time of teachers and the time of year it is. They had opportunities to engage with that document and to give feedback on multiple occasions and to select pieces and parts of the document that were specific to them. And they could come back as many times as they wanted to look at all pieces from introduction, standards, and conclusion, or appendices. We took that information and gave it a score. We used a rubric of 1, 2, and 3. So every comment that came from the field, we gave it a 1, which meant that comment was not actionable. Good job. We really love the direction we're headed, for example. 2s required the committee, the standards writing committee, to consider and make decisions. 3 were things that we could, on our end, immediately change, such as formatting and punctuation. All feedback from the field was made available to the writing committee. And the ELA team possesses records of all of our feedback, all of our revisions, and can provide documentation of how we used field feedback to inform revisions of the first draft. I suspect that you may have questions One question that was brought to my attention was about writing and resume writing. And if I could just address that question. Our communications standards, written and oral, are complementary to the computer science and digital literacy standards, where teachers often select specific modes of writing in upper English courses depending on the needs of students' college and career readiness. Resumes, applications, college entrance essays are examples of what teachers may choose based on what their students need. And our communications, written and oral communication standards complement that process.
Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, will handwriting be addressed?
Yes, sir. Would you like to know more?
I would.
I'm going to defer to my associate, who can speak more fluently about that than I can.
Good morning. I'm Mandy Hawker, and I am elementary ELA ed associate for our office. Yes, handwriting is addressed in Writing Standard 6. We begin with print writing, but cursive writing is, I guess, what you're referring to, is required by state law, and it is included starting in development in the 2nd grade, but the expectation of fluency with that by the 5th grade.
I was so glad to see that in writing. I was so glad to see that in writing because it has been a heartbreak for me to hear people say, which I knew it could not have been true, that they took cursive writing out of the curriculum. That's the big untruth that's being told. So when I saw that the students were expected to master cursive writing by 5th grade, I was so happy. I'm still dealing with a 10th grader who I'm working with him
Yes.
in writing his name in cursive. So thank you all for that. And for all the work that you all have done, I really appreciate it. Are there any other questions? Because I'm waiting for mine to be kind of sort of last.
There will be bridge documents, correct? They will be forthcoming, sort of articulating between the old and the new with sort of a clarity as to why it went from to some other.
That is correct. We already have crosswalk documents for the foundations of literacy, overarching expectations, applications of reading, and our oral and written communications crosswalk documents are under construction and will be finished soon.
How will the department roll out the new standards and help the districts that are most at need, the ones that have been identified and are part of those, nefarious lists that are out there?
That is such a great question, and thank you for that. Our office has been monitoring and measuring as we receive requests from the field. We're looking for patterns. Who are we hearing from? Who are we serving? Who reaches out in need and who does not? We've made a note of those districts that we do not have a lot of involvement or interaction with and want to, so we have started creating maps, reaching out, making connections, building spreadsheets, and preparing to offer and give discretion to those districts as we plan for professional development.
Any other
So add to that, David, I think we have the literacy coaches and the transformation coaches. So a key thing would be for them to become resident experts in these standards because they will be with those folks in those schools that have the greatest need all the time. So that's another part where we can build in. the
A lay
professional
of
learning.
fear that we have, I've met with our instructional leadership team, and I've taken the standards, and please understand me, there are many pros that's on my list of good things that have happened. There are just some concerns, and the concerns are, it appears to be very, and this is good, phonics-based with an effort at decoding and breaking and understanding the pronunciation of words. The concern that is elicited by some members of our instructional leadership team would be, how do we make that then work for comprehension? You can say a word, but you don't understand what it means.
I'm Christina Melton. I had the privilege to be the Director of Assessment and Standards, and we just celebrated our one-year anniversary in the month of September. And to add to some of the responses that you've heard already, our office has recorded a 198% increase of working directly with the field. 198% increase of working with our districts across our state in one calendar year. When it comes to the specifics, we know that reading is personal. Any educator that you talk with, reading and grading are two of the most personal subjects that we can have conversations with. When it comes to shifts of districts between how their curriculum may be, what their curriculum adoptions may be, and what these new standards are going to require, it's going to require us to have interaction, two-way communication. One-way communication will not be effective. So our commitment as an office is to be available, to be accessible. I would invite anyone that's listening and for you all to know as well, if you look at our website, we have professional development opportunities that we've created consistent with data that we have seen from summative assessments in our state. So now we are actually going into districts and working uniquely with them, but also creating an onboarding process. When a district calls our office, it isn't a traditional repetitive professional learning. It is asking questions about data. It is getting to know the audience. How many first-year teachers do you have in the room? How many PACE candidates do you have in the room? If we come in and present one way, we are not going to be effective. If we come in and focus our professional development unique to the audience, we will be successful. So back to the conversations of how to work with districts. What we didn't get to forecast for you today that I'm making note of, make sure that we communicate this, very collaborative. Other offices within our division, thanks to Dr. Mathis's vision, we've had many offices involved. It has not solely been our office doing this work. So that when we go out to work with districts, we can make sure that those resources that are already in place, such as Dr. Mathis referenced, we have more conversations regarding the work versus competing, confusing the field with what's expected and how do they please this office, how do they report to this, and how do they make sure they are in compliance with their district. It's going to require collaboration for sure.
And I think that was good that you noted, because teaching now is different and many people are coming into the
Yes,
field
sir.
as a second career and they don't have the background. So I think it does have to be incredibly personal and specific to the district, because in certain cases, PACE and alternative certifications are means by which we're now hiring
Yes, sir.
teachers. And they don't have the pedagogy, nor do they have the reading background that would need to underscore and provide the foundation for success with any standards. Because I think you've done an
Absolutely.
incredibly good job of formatting and making it as user-friendly as possible. It's merely now the ability to take the heavy lifting, which is the teaching of reading, and understanding the recognition of word formation and phonemic awareness, and yet also the intentional comprehension that has to come as a result of that.
I agree. Thank you for that awareness.
Are there any other questions, concerns, comments? I would like to know, is it hard for us to get that slide back that showed where the wonderful educators who helped? Is that the committee demographics? Can
That's
you
the location of. and
Can
then
you
this-
make it bigger? The actual, yeah, that one. Okay. All right, and now, this is me being a board member. I wanted to see it again because I wanted to see if my counties were represented. Okay. And they weren't, but that's okay. I was glad that, that Dr. O'Shea mentioned that there is a concern for districts most in need, which would be my counties, because I mentioned that. So I know that you all will address that. I know you will. Now, concerning, I think I heard something about may choose to according to the teachers, but I read and I was looking hard for it, so you will find what you're looking for. As it relates to English 3 standards and, English 4 high school standards, the need for students to know how to write political and social essays. Okay, that was cool. Historical essays, scientific essays, those were wonderful. But there is a dire need for seniors, juniors, seniors, especially seniors, to know how to write essays that will prepare them for receiving scholarships. They run from those. And in my group, where I live, there are not a lot of rich children there. They need the monies. And so I don't know how, other than just to address my heart, but I would love to see where some time is spent on students learning how to competently and confidently write essays to help them secure funds that their parents would would not be able to, and they're college-bound students. Now I'm not talking about the ones that can go straight from, and even if they could go straight from the technical colleges, they still need to know how to write those essays. So that's a concern that I had, and resume writing. Those were concerns that I had. They're very near and dear to me, as I try to do it. And I'm not an English teacher by profession, but I'm doing the best that I can with the babies that I have, not just in my home, but in my church and other. And I'm so grateful that, there's a need to revisit. I just hate that it's every 7 years, because lots of things happen in 7 years. But I am very grateful for you all. You all have done an awesome, you've touched my heart as I read the document, the first reading. Thank you so much. Are there any other concerns, questions? It's a good time for first reading. Okay, thank you so much.
I think she wanted to say
Ms.
something.
Price, may I
Oh, yes,
say,
ma'am.
Master?
I'm
This-
sorry.
Although this map is of great celebration, I think it warrants some context as well. There were some districts that were invited to participate that did not receive the invitation. We are still working on making sure that when invitations are extended, that the purpose and the opportunity that's being presented is well understood, so the invitations are not declined. So if you all have any examples or connections or things that we could do, talk with us privately. We want to make sure we continue that. In fact, tomorrow, Ms. Shealy, Assistant Director, and I are actually going into a district that typically doesn't invite us in, but we're going. And we're going to be teaching them how to use some of the resources that we have that maybe they haven't had the opportunity to use. I appreciate your passion for working with children in essay writing, and as a first-generation college graduate, I applaud you for having that kind of vision, and we're taking note of that. We are collaborative with our CTE. Now that Dr. Moore has been moved to that division, that office within the division, we're working closely with her, but we will make sure that you will see an improvement, that's clearer, that students can have their voice be found and have opportunities to practice that voice in an environment where teachers know the standards to work towards that vision.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And if I may add one last thing, we have discovered some errors. Who knows how many times these documents have been read, but we have still found some editing issues. So those have been corrected as recently as last night. I won't say what the hour was, but it was very late last night. So when you see the second reading, you'll see some revisions made to the document. And if you see anything that we may have overlooked, we welcome that feedback.
Thank you. Thank you so much. If there are no other questions or comments from our committee, we now seek a motion to approve item 01 within our committee. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion that we approve item 01.
Board member Dr. Christy Woodall made a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. O'Shields have seconded the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Okay, thank you, Dr. Mathis, and your staff. We would like to ask for a committee member to approve adding SLA 1 to the consent agenda, the South Carolina College and Career Ready English Language Arts Standards first reading. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay, the motion to approve was by Dr. O'Shields. The motion to second was by Dr. Withall. All in favor? Motion signifying by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. Items SLA 01 will be added to the consent agenda. Is there any other business to come before this committee? Well, if no other business, we will. I'm sorry, I thought I did, but I probably didn't. Was there, the minutes from the last meeting? Is there any reason why we cannot approve the minutes from the last meeting?
No objection.
Thank you. So the minutes from last meeting is approved. Okay. Well, with no other business, we will adjourn. Thank you and have a wonderful morning. Thank you.